Hello ATS block party. It is time for our next party trick. And last week we worked on thoracic extension and preparation for our body waves and our aerobic step. And so today we are going to work on using that for our body waves. But we're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna do it seated. So grab a seat, grab your block, and let's get ready to party. What we want to do is we want to learn how to stabilize our lumbar spine so that it doesn't move so much during our body wave. So it's going to have a little movement naturally in our body wave and in our aerobic, but what happens is we leave a lot of movement in the low belly, and then it ends up looking more like a belly roll and not a contraction in the back muscles to lift the thoracic spine and then a roll through to release. So our lumbar spine is definitely more flexible than our thoracic. We talked about that last week. So that what happens then when we're doing our body wave is this happens and this happens. And I'm exaggerating, but I know you've all seen it. So there's definitely a little bit of movement naturally in our lumbar for our body wave, but we're seeing a lot of extra movement. And like I said, it's looking more like a belly roll and not like an undulation of the spine. So I wanted to use our yoga block to figure out where we are losing that low belly contraction, because we still are just maintaining our posture. So there's a low belly contraction in our loose quads, and then see if we can move the isolation more into our thoracic so that whatever's happening in our lumbar spine is just reactionary to that release and roll through. So grab your block, and we are going to put it against the wall. I'm gonna put it on what is the thinnest setting, right? So if I'm sitting against the wall, which I'm about to do, I want this smaller space between my butt and the wall as opposed to this much space. So whether it's wide or tall is fine, but we just don't want it flat, so to speak. So here it is. All right, and so we're gonna have a seat and we're gonna put our sacrum right against our block, okay? And if you can't sit cross-legged, sitting up straight with your legs out is totally fine as well. So just take a moment, find that block at the base of your spine, have a seat and sit up nice and tall. And I want you to first start with your shoulders over your hips. So we kind of naturally tend to sit with a little bit of a lean in our posture and maybe even a little bit of roundness. So let's sit up straight and tall, crown of your head reaching towards the ceiling, but also let's start out neutral and not already forward. So starting out nice and neutral. So take a moment first, and having this nice straight long spine, I want you to take your shoulders forward and notice how your sacrum falls away from the block. And now take your shoulders back and notice how your knees might rise up. So this means that that is too much movement for the isolation. We're getting other parts of the body involved and not just the spine. So as we're doing this exercise, if any of those two things happen, back off and make your movement a little bit smaller. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and try this out. So sitting up nice and tall, shoulders over the hips, we're gonna begin our body wave, really nice extra bit of contraction here in the back, and then taking our shoulders down to the wall, we're gonna slowly roll one vertebra at a time, and then coming back to our neutral, then roll through to lift, roll down to release. So your shoulders may not touch the wall, and that is totally fine. The idea is that maybe one day they will, but it's all about having that stability in our low back so that we're not doing this when we start our body wave, okay? So reset, nice and tall, and then begin. Engaging, taking our shoulders back, and release. Engaging, taking our shoulders back, and release. And the body wave does not have to be this big, giant thing, right? It's beautiful when it's simple. It's beautiful in its simplicity, as long as the isolation is there, because this isolation is what we fall in love with, right? It's just that the isolation is happening so beautifully that we think the movement is super, super big, but it's not. Okay, so you can take that as slow as you want to. Eventually you can even maybe take it fast with a count so that you're practicing with the Arabic. But what I want you to also remember is if this is too little for you and you're like, Deanna, please, I do laybacks for my body waves, cool. Take your block and turn it the other way. And now you have more space between your sacrum and the wall, and you can begin to practice laybacks, right, with that same kind of stability. Laybacks are a little different. We'll talk about that more in August, but that'll at least get your shoulders leaning back and everything really engaged without you releasing into the lumbar spine or leaning back so much to come off of your stability of your low body. Okay, so try that out. Let me know how it goes. The next video that I have right after this, not a different block party, but just another post, are some of my students. So my students joined me, some of my level 2 students stayed later last week and we did this exercise and they really enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. Okay, have a great party and I'll see you at the next party trick.